Hey guys, my name's Nick. I'm teaching for this class. Today we're going to talk a little bit about postural control, objectives and questions. One, what are the relationships between wellness and postural control and the reasons poor postural control develop? What makes for an effective postural control training for wellness? What is core training most suited for? What is the relationship between sports performance and postural control? And why is postural control training for athletes so perplexing? How can posture control training impact sport injury prevention, and what makes for an effective program? Basically, deviations in postural alignment or poor stability can lead to some more severe problems and it can cause motor skills to decline. Many things contribute to poor posture control, such as pain, injury, diseases, habitual misuse, but definitive cause and effect mechanisms for all causes remain elusive. Maladaptive postural control. Behavioral states such as joy and sadness are reflected in physiological changes, overt movement actions, and subtle changes in tone and postural control. Uh, for example, you can look at two guys to the right, they both have different postures. The sad guy, he has a shorter stride, arms aren't as moving as much, his head's leaning down. Uh, on the other hand, the angry guy, you can see he's got long strides, his arms are really swinging, you know he's angry. Physiological and biomechanical causes of poor postural control are numerous. For example, diseases, injuries, and aging all contribute to deficits in strength and integrity, um, as well as a decline in the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, poor vision and hearing, medications, and inadequate nutrition may especially degrade postural control in elderly. Uh, in relatively healthy populations, maladaptive postural control may be a result of sustained workplace postures. For example, office jobs have people sitting there for like long time. Their head will be forward, rolled shoulders. Obesity and low fitness may contribute to poor postural control characteristics, just like not having the strength or ability to control your own posture. Most postural control interventions consist of whole body balance exercises on unstable platforms. If any of you have been in the athletic training room, they have a bunch of equipment for instability and stability training. Things like wobble boards and foam surfaces with or without destabilizing forces. Exercises can include single leg stances, jumping, various strength and power exercises. Postural control programs for less healthy people, less healthy populations, and others include general strength training, martial arts, and systematically increasing the challenges of activities of daily living. Core training. Uh, Training for trunk body segment stability is referred to as core training. Whereas the exoskeleton, which is comprised of the skull, thoracic cage, and vertebral column, also including shoulder and pelvic girdles and the soft tissue attached to it. Core musculature may activate differently based on movement, intentions, and outcomes. Thus, core exercises should be functional and activity specific. Among core training techniques are attempts to contract specific muscles like the transverse abdominis muscle, and then co-activate it with the internal oblique muscles in the following manner. Such isolation may not be effective in global stabilization. In this example, the hollowing maneuver leads to a less effective biomechanical profile. Bracing, for those of you who don't know, sort of like the Valsalva maneuver used by like power lifters, people going for like heavy lift. Bracing, keeping stability within your core throughout the lift. Hollowing is more just flexing your abs, doesn't create as much stabilization. Core training can be there's two types: primary, secondary. Primary training is specifically for core improvement. Secondary doesn't necessarily focus on the core, but it requires core stabilization during. So for example, he's doing flies on the ball down there, stabilizing with his core. Whole body static posture. Little evidence that balance training is suggested to be integral to any fitness program targeting functional health, including activities, daily living, and fall prevention. Balance training in both healthy and unhealthy people can improve sway and balance. Balance and fall prevention programs for the elderly can reduce fall incidents. Fall prevention programs for others should be multifaceted. These programs have to be versatile and specific to each person. This obstacle course offers a variety of tasks and environmental constraints, including cognitive challenges of reading a newspaper on the table. As you guys can see, she's like walking around the room, she's stepping over obstacles, changing directions. Posture control training adaptations. Balance training may result in that maximize subcortical involvement and downgrades cortical and spinal involvement. Basically, this means that by increasing subcortical involvement, um, messages from the body to the brain will be faster and more efficient. Postural control in athletes and sport performance. Postural control needs in sporting action are many. Poor posture control may lead to an inability to recover from perturbation. Perturbation is an unexpected disturbance. Posture, as you guys can see, the baseball player, he's got good posture. He's got his shoulders, spine, head, hip and knee stabilized. He's also bracing with his abs, preparing for the back sliding in. And posture control training improves sport performance. Sporting activities may contribute to some postural misalignment. There may be necessary adaptations to sport-related training. Unfortunately, little evidence in athletes and healthy persons associated with trunk core training with sport performance. It is difficult to assess these relationships. Other types of postural control training may improve some measures related to performance. Despite the lack of evidence for some postural control training for athletes to improve performance, there may be other benefits. Things like reducing risk of injury, balance training, not to be confused with core training, and recreational athletes and fit and active persons may improve some ability measures. Things like vertical height, rate of muscle tension development, and agility. Balance training has been shown to improve laboratory measures of balance in active and athletic populations. Balance training is not superior to resistance training for improving the performance or underlying abilities of accomplished athletes. Examples: sprint speed and jump height. Recommendations are that postural control training programs should not replace other conditioning programs. Younger and non-elite athletes are more likely to gain benefits than elite athletes. Posture control training must be multifaceted, comprehensive, rigorous, and sport-specific. Programs should emphasize proactive postural mechanisms by creating uncertainty and a need for rapid decision-making, which may force postural control systems to expect the unexpected. Postural control training provides an uncertain benefit to athletic performance that has resulted in demonstrable reductions in sport-related musculoskeletal injuries. These injuries can include knee and ankle sprains, and even shoulder injuries. One outcome of postural control training is joint stability. This entails strengthening tendons and ligaments within and around the joint. Joint stability is an outcome of static and dynamic systems, including motor skills, vision, hearing, and senses. Proactive and reactive postural control play a big role as well. Feed forward proactive postural control is required to maintain and ready the joint for disturbances. Reactivation of knee and ankle musculature controls dampening and force transmission, embraces the joint against destabilizing forces. A good example of this would be jumping off an elevated surface. You have to prepare yourself before landing by stabilizing and bracing. In trained individuals, proactive posture control prepares the joints for expected and unexpected stresses and perturbations. Uncertainty in task requirements creates changes in proactive postural control, such that it is more flexible and adaptable. Reaching to the left or right while in mid-flight may leave this athlete in an unbalanced and vulnerable position upon landing. Proactive stability control to ready the body for off-balance and uncertain landings are necessary to maintain stability of the joints and body as a whole. Following a joint injury, the stability of the joint may be compromised for several reasons. It could be due to weakened and damaged connective tissues, changes in tissue properties, changes in the nature of the stimulus, response characteristics of the receptors within the tissue, and subsequently the nature of the information sent to the stimulus. Nociception and pain reception can affect muscle activation and movement behavior. Risk factors for joint injury are complex and multifaceted. Risk factors for female athletes for ankle and knee injuries have been identified as modifiable and non-modifiable. Non-modifiable being things that you can't change, modifiable being things you can. So non-modifiable risk factors in females are less robust joint and ligament structures, greater body fat, and less favorable structural alignment. Modifiable risk factors center on a high-risk biomechanical profile. The high-risk biomechanical profile includes poor leg muscle coordination, leading to poor jumping control, excessive knee wobble, and unstable landing mechanics. As you can see in the picture below, both are exhibiting signs of valgus, fancy word for buckling of the knee. It's another risk factor. Among other risk factors for men and women is fatigue. Fatigue may be peripheral and central. As you begin to fatigue, posture, and muscle action degrade and leave you vulnerable to injury. Your training programs can positively impact modifiable risk factors and reduce joint injury rates in male and female athletes. Successful programs are multifaceted, long duration, and last at least 6 weeks. They involve jumping, hopping, running, strength training. Successful programs emphasize movement quality and posture control for fitness development. Successful programs have similarities in instructing movement quality. This includes analysis and feedback by instructors and planning techniques, use of imagery, verbal and visual cues rather than just simple instructions. Video is also encouraged to help athletes visualize and formulate training strategies. Successful programs include core and trunk control and sport-specific perception, action coupling situations. Situations include fatigue, decision-making, external focus of attention, and randomness. Programs should target individual-specific needs. Examples, specific postural alignment at landing impact for females should be different from males because of the hip and knee structural differences. In summary, effective programs follow deliberate practice and discovery, learning principles with constraints-led approaches. Postural control mechanisms are essential to maintain joint integrity, balance, and produce efficient and effective movement. Poor postural control may develop from genetic factors, poor physical and mental health, and chronic motor behaviors. Postural control training is a component of multifaceted training regimens and improves some musculoskeletal problems and functional performance, and also prevent falls in most persons with dysfunction and poor health. Postural control training to improve athletic performance or improve whole body alignment has yet to be conclusively shown. Postural control training to decrease athletic musculoskeletal injuries has substantial support though. Successful training programs for wellness and injury prevention fall directly in line with dynamic systems constraint-led approaches, emphasizing activity-specific tasks, specific and highly challenging environmental constraints, and psychophysical challenges.